Hello, welcome back to MFWoodShop. Today I just wanted to talk a little bit about the longer LK5 Pro. Let me grab my notes. They sent me this machine about a month and a half ago. It was probably a little before Easter, because an Easter egg was one of my first projects on this, and it turned out great. I agreed to do this video because they sent me the machine and they asked me to check it out and give a review. Real quick about the longer LK5. The build plate is 300 by 300 by 400, so it's 300 square on the plate and then 400 tall, which allows you to do a lot bigger prints than your standard FDM printers. Let me just run through the specs and I'll give you what I've seen. The extra large build platform, 11.5 by 11.5 by 15.7. It's about 11.5 square by almost 16. So again, 300 by 300 by 400. They claim precision XY control, X, Y, and Z control up to 0.1 millimeters, and an upgraded silicone carbon glass. I'll get back to that here in a second. There is now if you order the printer, there's an upgraded dual fan on here. I don't think, actually it does have the dual upgraded fan. And there's no additional cost for that as of right now on the website. Let's see, wide compatibility. I mean, there's so much specs. I don't want to overwhelm you with numbers and all this stuff, because quite honestly, what matters is how big it is, how well it prints, and is it stable, in my opinion. This is what matters to me in a 3D printer. Is those things. How big can I print? How stable it is? Do I have to keep screwing with it? And I'm going to get to all that here in a second. Again, the print size, nozzle. It comes with a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. Print speeds up to 120 millimeters per second. Let's see here. What's the other ones? Nozzle temps up to 250, and heated bed temps up to 100, filament diameter 1.75, output 24 volts. Let's see what else is in here. Aluminum frame, machine weighs 11 kilograms if that matters to you. Let's see, supports filaments. This is a good one. PLA, ABS, wood, and copper filaments. I don't know what copper filaments is. I'm kind of curious about that one. ABS, I don't think you could, technically I guess you could do ABS on this. You would definitely want to enclose it and do your ventilation correctly, but technically the numbers are there to do ABS. So far the only thing I've printed on here is PLA, and I've had no problems. Let's see, any other relevant specs here? That's really about it. Those are the main specs. What I want to really talk about is the machine itself. Now, their website claims that it's super quiet. It has the quiet stepper motors. It actually advertises that there is a sleeping baby right next to the printer. I don't think so. That's about the one thing that I can't agree on with the specs, and it sounds loud to me. I don't know if it's coming through as audio for you, but it sounds a little louder to me than the other printers that I've had. With that being said, it's still not bad. I have it set up right now, right in the middle of my shop, right in the middle of my way, for a couple reasons. A, it's out of here in the garage where it's not annoying my living room life. and B, it's big as hell. This thing is massive. The footprint with the filament on and the bed extension and everything, you're looking about 27 inches, 28 inches with enough room this front to back, and from side to side 24 would be tight, probably around 26 would be okay. So if you're going to get a large printer, have somewhere to put it. In my case, I have not figured that part out yet. I'm working on it. So that to me is a downside and a plus. So the plus is you get the large build volume. The downside is you got to store this printer somewhere where it's not in the way, because it's a big footprint. So just keep that in mind when you're shopping for printers. How big do you really need it? I personally don't need a real big one, but there are some things I wanted to print that my other printer wasn't able to because of the build volume. I'll stay on the negative side on this just for a moment here, because there's not much negative that I've found so far. There's a feature on the screen, and I can't show you now because it's printing, but there's a load and unload filament feature on here, and when you unload it, it's nice that it retracts the filament and pulls it all the way out. The downside with that, it actually, I don't think it pulls it out fast enough, so it does some stringing all along the Bowden tube and all the way out the extruder motor. And I noticed that particularly on this particular print, and I'll zoom in here in a little bit. This particular print, my fault, I made it too big and I'm too stubborn to stop it, so I actually ran out of filament, so I used some quarter filaments that I had to fill up some of the gaps. I'm not going to use this particular print in for what I want. I'm going to reprint it in the correct size, but I figured it's been running for 30 hours now straight in a garage where it's been hot and cold with no problems. I'm going to get back to that. So anyway, the load and unload feature is nice, and there's one downside. It just pulls back a little too slow for me, so it just leaves some stringing up in here, and you got to watch that when the filament goes into the extruder. That stringing can clog right there at the tip, and I've already encountered that. The nice thing and downside thing is they included this 3D printed part to help guide the filament into place, and they give you this little piece of Bowden tube right here, and it kind of fits into that 3D printed part, and it just helps guide the filament into the extruder. It's nice that they included that. It's kind of annoying that they included that as well, because they should have fixed that from the get-go, and it seemed like an afterthought. So that's really about the only negative thing I can say so far about this printer. I've been using it for a few very large prints. This is one of them. We're rolling into about 30 hours on this print right here. And then this Mandalorian mask, it was a little over 2 days to print that. Now, I could have shortened that time with stepping up the speed, a little less infill, especially on this one, because I printed that in too small. Printed this one too big, I printed that one too small. All my fault. But it printed well. I didn't have any problems with adhesion. I've only leveled it once, and I've done multiple prints, probably 10 or 12 prints, and most of them were pretty large prints, and time-consuming prints. Not a lot of detail on the stuff that I have printed, so I can't speak to that. What I can say is it so far has been more reliable than my printer that I paid a little bit more for, and a smaller build area, and not to mention that other brand that I put a lot of time and money into. I've also upgraded several things on it to make it better and better, but I still constantly get problems with it, leveling out, or constantly there's always something with it. I haven't even used it since I've gotten this one. So in that aspect, this is 90% put together out of the box. You do have to put the uprights on, you do have to put the struts on, and then you have to level it, and that is pretty much it on the assembly. Let's see. One thing to note, the power supply, just make sure you put it to the proper voltage for your country. I'm 115 here, so I did have to switch my power supply switch before I even powered it on. The reason I note this is because there was a sticker covering up the power supply switch, and honestly, if I didn't watch anybody else's video on this, I would have probably missed that. So I just wanted to let you know about that. Look out for the power supply switch. Just make sure it's to the right voltage for your particular area. So right now I am printing a picture frame, believe it or not. This was a really good file that I found on Thingiverse, and this is the small version of it. This turned out really well, and I really liked it with this particular filament that I had, and I actually liked it so well. This is my second frame that I printed. It comes with a snap-on back. It's one print, right flat on the build plate. It's a good, solid frame. I mean, it's probably one of the better frames I've seen in a long time. And the Celtic knotwork in here, that's super nice. Super clean print. If you printed this in a better layer, I did a 2.0 layer height. If you did that in like a 0.16 or 0.1 or whatever, a smaller layer height, they'd probably even be better. What's going on now with this one is I took that same frame and I made it a little bit bigger and a lot deeper by I did a lot deeper by accident. I actually only needed this 35 millimeters deeper, because I'm going to take this frame and put it over something that's on my wall that I don't want to take down, but I do want to cover it up. Now, I thought this frame would be really good, so you can see the layer height. I'm almost 4 times the layer height here, and I actually only needed about 2 times, about double, or not the layer height, the thickness, sorry. So anyway, the different colors this is all my fault. This is just me. I started out with the color that I wanted down here, realized that my spool was getting low, so I switched to I call these my off-brand collars. I usually just test stuff with these 2 collars. So I switched to those. I ran out of the blue, completely ran out of the blue. The filament sensor actually shut down. There is a filament sensor, so when it's out of filament it stops printing. So it actually ran out here. I switched to my backup collar gray, just a standard everyday gray. And then I went back to the collar that I wanted to finish, and honestly I don't even know if I'm going to finish this print, because that's all I got left, and it's going to be really close. I'm at 78% done, but I don't know if I'm going to finish the top layer. I wanted to also change it before this part of the print. so that all the top layer was this red and black instead of that gray down there, but it's actually looking pretty good at the top. You're only going to see the front of this anyway, so it don't really matter. Again, mostly just playing here, but this print's been going for a little over 30 hours. This one print was 22 hours, so you can see how much bigger it is. Well, you can see how much bigger it is, and definitely how much deeper it is versus the original print. The original print was really good. The other thing I printed, or other big thing that I printed, was this Mandalorian mask. I do have some footage as it was printing, and I'll put all this stuff on the screen as I'm talking, hopefully. This turned out really well. I didn't print it big enough, so it don't fit my head, but you certainly could fit a real helmet, or a big enough helmet to fit on your head with this printer. And this was kind of the test print, little whistle that came with the printer itself. It gave you a couple test files, and that was one of them. And that one printed out super nice. I actually printed a couple of these and gave one away. But I printed some other stuff, and I'm really digging this printer. Real good things I can tell you about this. I love the display. It's very easy to touch. It's very touch sensitive, so you can't accidentally bump into the screen, otherwise you might mess something up. But it's pretty sensitive. The screen is nice. I do wish they had some more features built into the screen, so I can manually adjust stuff on the fly. For instance, this print, I would have sped this up a long time ago, bumped it up about 100% probably. I'm printing way too slow. This particular file is set at 50 millimeters per second. I would have easily went up to 70 or 80 on this particular print, because most of it's just infill. The only part that really matters is the very top of this particular print, and if I really wanted to, I could slow it down at that point if I had on-the-fly adjustments like that. So you don't have that ability, but the touchscreen is nice. It's easy to use, super easy to level. There's a leveling feature on here, and you just hit 1 through 5 and do the little paper leveling trick, and it'll move to 5 positions on the bed plate. You level it. You do that a couple times until it's all evened out, and it works really well. I haven't had to adjust it. I've done it once, and that's when I first started it, and everything's been sticking so far. And that's even out here in my wood shop, where it's dusty and dirty and hot and cold and everything else in between. I've even cut metal in the background, and it's still sticking to this build plate. Speaking of the build plate, it might stick actually too well to the build plate. Both picture frames that I did, I really struggled getting the print off the build plate. So that could be me. That could be just the settings that I used, or maybe I got the tolerances too tight for the leveling process. That could be user error, I don't know. But so far I'm super impressed with this build plate, and it's even outshined my old brand that has a similar build plate. Maybe they just wear out over time, and that's what happened to my old one. I don't know. But the motors seem to be running cool. Of course, it's not hot in my shop right now. It will get hot in my shop. But the power supply is cool. I mean, everything's cool to the touch, other than where it needs to be warm, like the build plate and the nozzle. It was a good move putting the struts on this tall tower. Don't think it would hold up if you didn't have the struts. If you're going to go that tall, you got excuse me, if you got to go that tall, you got to support that. That's a lot of flop if you didn't have these, and there is a lot of flop if you didn't have these. The lead screw I thought was a little small, but it's been performing nicely, so I could be wrong on that. It just visually to the eye, it looks small, and it may not be. It just could be the scale of the machine versus the lead screw. It could be just messing with my head. Let's see, what else? I think if I had the room, I would just do away with this filament support altogether and maybe 3D print a stand to go over here. I prefer the filament at the top because of the footprint, but in this particular case it's so tall up here. I guess it really wouldn't be that big of a difference, but it was just extra travel if it was at the top. So I understand why they put it down here closer to the extrusion, but if you have the room, I would just abandon this because it's kind of an awkward angle to get that in there from where this sits, and that's probably why they had this 3D print with this little Bowden tube. Let me show you that up close. So I completely understand why they included this piece in the print with the printer and this little piece of Bowden tube to direct this filament right into the extruder, and it does work really well. I just wish they would have thought of that from that way it's all one piece and not this extra piece that you have to install and this extra little piece of Bowden tube that really just kind of slides in there. There's nothing really holding that in there other than the friction going in. It does hold pretty well, and it does feed it in there pretty straight to the through the filament sensor and the extruder, so it's doing that pretty good. It does the job. I'm not saying it's not. It's just kind of wish it was all one piece and a part of the printer. The screen, I'm limited on what I can show you right this second because I'm printing, but there are some things that you can do on the fly. You can adjust the nozzle temperature, the heat bed temperature, fan speed, feed rate, nozzle flow rate, and the Z offset. You can do that all on the fly. You can also change the filament by doing that. I don't want to do that right now. And the home screen it's dusty, but it is color coded and it's easy to read. 78% progress is where I'm at right now. I'm at layer 51 millimeters. The elapsed time, I'm at 49 hours. So I'm actually a lot further than I thought. I'm not 49 hours in that. Maybe that whole print is 49 hours. It says 49 hours elapsed. Not sure on that. I guess I never paid attention to that. That's the file name, and that's my current bed temperature and nozzle temperature. And of course I can pause or cancel the print as of it sitting right now. So one thing I do want out of this video is a relationship with Longer. The lady I was working with when we set up this deal to do this review, she was super nice, and I hope the rest of the Longer crew is as nice as she was. She's checked in on me, made sure everything was going good with the printer, and it all through email, but she has been super nice and super sweet, and I just wanted to thank them for sending this printer out to me, and I wanted to make sure I got this video out to hopefully prolong our relationship in the future. I've already got my eye on the, I think they call it the orange LK4. I could be wrong on that, but it's the resin printer that they offer on their website. I haven't done anything with resin printing yet, but it's something I want to try. but I don't know if it's something I want to try and invest a lot of money in. But if they send me one, I will definitely try it, and I would definitely give you my thoughts on it. So longer, if you're watching, and if you're interested, I would be interested in trying that resin printer of yours. I'm going to let this finish printing and pray to God I don't run out of this filament, because I ordered another spool because I actually like this filament really well, and it's not going to be here in time to top it off if I have to. And even if I did top it off, the layer, it's a 3-color filament, so it may stick out like a sore thumb. Even if I did have to top it off with another roll, I don't think I'd get them to match up. But that's all right. I'm going to print another one. Like I said, this one was too big. I'm just too stubborn to turn it off because I'm too far into the print now. So even if I have to top it off with a white or a blue or whatever, I don't care. I'm just pleased that the printer's working, and it's been doing really well, even in this rough environment for a 3D printer. It's been sitting out in my shop for 2 weeks. I've laser cut stuff. I've cut stuff on the table saw, done some metalworking. I've been fiddling out here for the last couple weeks, and this printer has taken it like a champ, and hopefully I don't ruin it by leaving it out here in this element. But I need to come up with a solution, and I'm working on that. So anyway, thank you for watching. I know this was a long review video, and I'm not the technical guru to give you all the specs and all that stuff anymore. I'm just not interested in all that. What I am interested in, and what I am willing to share with you, is if the damn thing works or not. And so far, the damn thing works. Thank you for watching.